Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Driving Consumer Behavior and Demand for Seafood and an update on the Fall in Love with Seafood campaign. I'm Linda Cornish, President and Founder for Seafood Nutrition Partnership, and thank you all for being here today. First, we're going to give you an overview of Seafood Nutrition Partnership. We will then introduce our panelists here, have a video and an update on Fall in Love with Seafood. If you would come up closer to the front, you'll have a chance to ask questions at the end, and we'll have a wonderful, engaging conversation about how we can help consumers eat more seafood. I just went through that. So, for those of you, all of us here in the seafood industry, you are the most engaging, innovative, hardworking people out there. Working in seafood is very challenging, but also very rewarding. And for us at Seafood Nutrition Partnership, we are a charitable nonprofit that is helping Americans eat more seafood, and we've been doing this for over a decade. And many of you ask, why is there a nonprofit, a charitable nonprofit, helping Americans eat seafood? That's kind of strange. Well, the two food groups that Americans are not eating enough of are fruits and vegetables and seafood. And 90% of Americans do not eat enough seafood for health benefits. And we are really needing to tell our story better. And that's something that we need to do more than ever. All of us have something going on in our lives. All of us have our burdens. A lot of us know people with health issues. Seafood is the answer to many of those health issues that we face today. And there is an awakening happening. Most Americans are looking for food that can help them feel better, thrive, and also just think better. And so, why should we be eating seafood? And I just wanted to take a couple minutes to just share the health benefits of seafood. There have been over 40,000 studies on the health benefits of seafood since the 1970s. And so it's packed with omega-3s, vitamins, minerals. Those that eat seafood feel better and definitely have just more energy. Moms who eat seafood have babies with higher IQ by about 7.7 IQ points. And also, there's new research that moms who eat seafood can reduce the risk of preterm birth by up to 2/3. And of course, you know about the heart health benefits, the brain benefits, and Dr. Brenna is here from our Science Council. We have many of our board members here, as well as our ambassadors. So we thank you all for being here to just really learn more about how we can help consumers eat more seafood. And I'm just so pleased to see all of you here today. So with us today, I want to just introduce our esteemed panelists. And I'm going to start with my left and then go to our star here. So to my left is Sarah Crowley. She's the VP of Marketing and Communications at Seafood Nutrition Partnership. She's been with us for almost 3 years. And she has over 4 decades of marketing and experience with a variety of proteins, as well as in CPG, fashion, financial. So we really are lucky to have Sarah join our team and also help with the NSC Task Force here, the National Seafood Council Task Force, that has been working on this to bring a national seafood campaign together to help Americans fall in love with seafood. To her left is Ciera Womack. She recently had a promotion. She is VP of Product Marketing and of the protein category at Rich Products Corporation. And at Rich's, she has overseen the strategies for the renowned brands of CPAC and Maury's. And she has had a wonderful journey in marketing through Rich Products and has also served on a number of leadership positions with NFI, helping to educate as well through continuing education at NFI's Future Leaders Program. And we are so pleased to be able to have our newest partner with us, Andrew Zimmern, to my right. Let's give him a round of applause. Many of you know Andrew. He's the Emmy-winning, 4-time James Beard Award-winning TV personality, chef, writer. He's a passionate global citizen, and I'm so impressed with how hard he works to make this planet better through helping us understand how to connect with each other through food. His franchise includes, and you know him from Bizarre Foods. He has other really well-known shows as well as Driven by Food, What's Eating America, Family Dinner, Wild Game Kitchen, Field to Fire, The Zimmern List. And in all his time, he's also given his time to be the UN World Food Program Goodwill Ambassador. And it's just amazing that he's helping us to tell the great story of seafood. He's a founding member of the Coalition for Sustainable Aquaculture, the Independent Restaurant Coalition, and also producer for Fed by Blue, Hope in the Water. So we're going to play a video first from Andrew, and then we'll invite Andrew up to speak and provide comments on how we can engage the seafood industry more to tell our story. So.
Oh, Linda, click. Oh. And then one more. And now if you click it, it should go.
Okay. Wow, that is incredible. But you already knew that. Do you know what's even better than perfectly cooked sustainable seafood? How about double-digit sales growth for sustainable seafood? Yep, it's happening. I'm Andrew Zimmern, and I've spent my life chasing incredible food stories. But the story I'm sharing today isn't about a far-off place. It's about a movement right here that's revolutionizing how America thinks about, buys, cooks, and eats seafood. If you're not part of it yet, you're leaving money on the table. The Fall in Love with Seafood campaign is not just changing minds, it's transforming buying behaviors. We're talking 77% of consumers saying they want to eat more seafood. We see a 4-to-1 return on investment, and we have over 60 million impressions in just 1 year. And these aren't just empty impressions. The numbers don't lie. 86% of seafood consumers gave this campaign top marks for appeal. 77% of current seafood consumers said it made them want to eat more seafood. Plus, over a third of campaign engagements are coming from 18 to 34-year-olds. So we're not just preaching to the converted, we're hooking the next generation of seafood lovers. The campaign's creative approach is fresh, bold, and it's working. Consumer engagement is more than double the industry average. And with 82% of consumers wanting to learn more about preparing different types of seafood, there is an audience that's hungry for what we're serving up. So why should you join a collaborative campaign? Well, unlike beef, pork, or dairy, seafood doesn't have a unified commodity board. That's where SNP steps in, bringing the industry together to create something bigger than any one brand. Whether you're supplying fresh or frozen, wild or farm, domestic or imported, SMP supports it all. They don't play favorites, they're Switzerland. And I mean that in the best possible way. Last year, major retailers across the country joined forces with the Seafood Nutrition Partnership. The result? Every dollar invested in marketing returned over $4 in incremental seafood sales. That's not just impressive, that's game-changing. So here's the bottom line. When we work together, we can make a real difference. We can help Americans live healthier, happier lives through seafood, and we can truly protect our fisheries and produce from them at the same time. The Fall in Love with Seafood campaign is ready to make an even bigger splash in 2025. The question isn't whether it works, they've got the numbers to prove it does. The real question is, are you ready to get involved and win with us?
Should I click again? Let's welcome Andrew Zimmern.
Thanks, Linda. I've learned a lot about Linda over the last year. I put my bag, I thought we were all going to start sitting down, so I put my bag right here. And Linda comes up to me right before I came in, she's like, "Can I move your bag?" And I'm just like, "Why? I'm from New York." It's like, "Can I move your bag?" Because that's where I'm blanking standing. Anyway, I'm really grateful to be here today. I kind of feel like a raindrop entering the river. I used to spend a lot of time in Boston at the seafood show here in another lifetime that helped me grow into the lifetime that I'm probably best known for. But for about 10, 11 years, I attended every seafood show in Boston, Los Angeles, and at the time, the International was in Brussels. And it really activated my passion for how seafood could both define the world that we are living in and that we're going to experience in the future, but also was a mechanism, a tool to help fix a lot of what's broken, not just with our food systems, but with international security, with food waste, with hunger, with our climate crisis, and our personal wellness and health, as Linda referenced several times, and I referenced in the video that you saw. And it really, I don't like to say the word politicized, because while at times there are political issues, I believe that we have to have political solutions to help us make the changes that we need to see to increase the amount of seafood that is consumed in America, and especially consumed at home in America. It really is a moral and civic issue first and foremost. It was very complimentary of you to call me a good global citizen, and I don't take that lightly. I want to be a good global citizen. And in order to do that, we have to confront a lot of really, really sticky issues, and I don't want to dwell on those today. I'd rather talk about the things that we can do together to help make a little bit of change. There were a couple of things that stood out for me. I recorded that, I don't know, about 3-4 months ago. And while everything in there is true, when you put something away for a while, it's like a shirt. You know, you love it, you wear it twice, nobody says, hey, great shirt. You put it away, and then 3 months later you take it out, and you're either like, screw them, that's a great shirt, I'm wearing that all the time, or you're gifting it to someone because you are never gonna wear that shirt again. And sometimes putting something away for a while has a lot of benefits, and you realize what's really important. And one of the things that jumped out to me there, and it really is the crux of what the SNP to me is all about, and why I am so passionate about the work that they were doing, and why I said yes right away 9-10 months ago when Linda and Sarah said, hey, would you like to get involved with us and help us move the needle on our issue? And I happen to be an extremely big fan of singleness of purpose. If you can't tell me what your book is about, your TV show, your work in one really good sentence, I have ADHD, you've lost my attention, right? But if you can frame it up in a really, really interesting way, in one sentence, or in even better, in a sentence fragment, I think you can do really, really, really important things. Really great companies spend months locked in a room trying to figure out how to describe their business in 10 words or less. And it really is a magical process. And I try to whiteboard that out all the time in my day-to-day business life. And so when I talked to Linda and Sarah in our first Zoom meeting, they said, we want Americans to eat one more seafood meal a week. And I'm like, okay, I'm in. Like that to me is a win. I know what that looks like. I think I know some ways that I can help move that needle. But most importantly, it's a really easy metric to get behind. And we can look 2-3 years from now and say, hey, did we get there? And I believe we can, based on what I've seen over the last 9 months working with the SNP, right? But the big number that I talked about in there was, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, and I'm pretty sure I am, 71% of people polled, quote, and this is a really important word, wanted to eat more seafood. They didn't say, we did eat more seafood. They didn't say, need to eat more seafood. They said, wanted. to eat more seafood. So what is it that is preventing people who want to do something from doing it? What is it? And I think it's 8 or 9 different things. I have a neurodivergent child, and I went to a shrink's appointment with him about, I don't know, he was 8 or 9 years old. He's 20 now. And I remember jumping up and down because something good had happened, and I said, oh, it's because I've been using the sentence you taught me to use, so I'm not engaged in arguing with him. And he laughed at me, and I said, what's so funny? We had a great week in our house with Noah. And he said to me, it's never one thing. And I've applied that. It literally, it broke open in my head and has stayed there, painted on the inside of my eyelids with everything that I do. You know, business, relationships, we always love as human beings to say, that's the reason, right? The reason is international sales of fish that are cheaper, but they're only selling commercialized product with no transparency to giant-sized chain restaurants, and that's the only place people are going to eat seafood. Well, that's one of many reasons, but that's not the only reason, right? And I think we touched on a bunch of really interesting ones in that short video, and we're going to talk about more of them, I hope, with this panel. And I'm hoping that you have really engaging questions for us and challenge some of the things that we're all thinking and feeling, because we are a giant-sized tent here that has too many divergent needs, wants, and experiences to be really successful. And I think that's why the S&P is also really, really important, right? Because there is no one tent. We are not like the Wisconsin Dairy Board or the American Beef Council, right? We have many, many divergent interests. But I sat there on the show floor and I thought to myself, despite the fact that we have half of our industry is seeking transparency and lower costs and healthier and more nutritious food, the other half of our industry is looking at the entire flip side of that, and somehow we have to find more space on the Venn diagram where we overlap. I think it's in those reasons that I mentioned before about why respondents to the poll said they wanted, 71% wanted to eat more seafood. One, and this is not in any order, I'm just off the top of my head. Number one is a lack of transparency, right? Increasingly, customers want more and more and more transparency. And that means more education. I go into my local stores all the time, and if it doesn't say something on a little sticker that's in the fish case, or on a label that tells me where it was from, right, and how it was sourced, there should be someone there who can answer my question. Same thing in a restaurant, right? Where's this from? Is a really easy question. And if you don't know where it's from, they should be able to tell you. And by the way, there are giant-sized chains that do it really, really well. I'm a big fan of Culver's, and I like their fish sandwich. And any 16-year-old kid working summers at Culver's will tell you where their fish is from, where they've gotten it that year. Every single one of them can tell you. I go into fancy restaurants where I'm paying $250 for a meal, and I say, where is this mackerel from? And they can't tell me. That's wrong, right? Transparency, really, really, really important. The other really, really important one, and then I'll sit down and we'll have our conversation, I believe is price. And we all know that economics drive the majority of decisions when it comes to shopping. And that is a reality. When I walk into my local seafood shop and I see the price of some of the fish that's in there, I chuckle to myself, and I don't mean this to sound weird, but I know that I'm a 1/10 of a 1%er. And even I have trouble buying for price per pound what I'm paying in the seafood case for certain types of fish, right? food is becoming so expensive in America, and it's not just seafood. I mean, I don't want to make the old egg joke that seems to be going around everywhere that I talk with food people, but prices in America for all foods are soaring. And it is happening at a time as our food systems, not just ones that come from fresh and salt water, our food systems become more and more tenuous and wonkier and wonkier. So as people who are involved in one big chunk of that global system, fish and other seafood, it is incumbent upon us to try to find solutions to bring down the price of seafood any way that we can, because people are worried about their pocketbooks. The vast majority of Americans are going to get poorer over the next 2 or 3 years before they become more well off. That is just a fact. And we are going to see increasing fall off and lose a lot of the progress that we've made on these issues unless we collectively understand that, yes, this is a problem and there are solutions for them. I think there truly is. I'm not making a pun about it here, but I truly believe there is hope in the water. I think we can achieve these things through a whole variety of mechanisms. I'm eager to talk about them with you all. I'm just an ideas guy, but I certainly know enough about operationalizing to be dangerous. But I just wanted to thank Sarah and Linda for letting me join their team. You guys are inspiring leaders and you're doing really, really, really great work. And I wanted to thank all of you because it doesn't matter what you do, we're food people, we're teammates. And I think food people are the coolest people in the whole world. And we have way more in common than we have things that separate us. And I think it's important for us to be talking about those things so that we can make real change in the world that's desperately needed if we want to see all of our common goals be achieved. I know that we can do it. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Where's Sarah going?
I have a presentation.
Oh my gosh.
I'm doing a quick update.
Okay.
We're thrilled to partner with you, and thank you for your words. They were wonderful. I'm Sarah Crowley, VP of Marketing for Seafood Nutrition Partnership. I'm going to give a very quick update on the campaign, and then we'll do a little panel discussion, and then we'll open it up for questions. So we're really excited that this campaign has over 40 different suppliers and brands that have supported it. And in this room are representatives from many of those companies. So thank you very much for working with us to drive seafood consumption and help Americans live healthier, happier lives. And we're really working towards a nationwide campaign. We launched first with H-E-B in January of 2024, and since then we've executed campaigns partnering with these retailers and their suppliers, Hy-Vee, Weiss, Harris Teeter, Publix, and we just recently finished up a second campaign with Jason Driscoll and his team at H-E-B. And right now we're working on a campaign with Walmart, and that is a campaign that is going to launch in late June and go through July, through the month of July. So it's really going to hit 4th of July and that summer grilling season. So if you are interested in partnering with us to have a Fall in Love with Seafood campaign at Walmart, please call Linda, call me. We'd love to talk to you. And in addition to folks that we've already partnered with, we are talking with a lot of retailers who are interested in this campaign. And so later this year, we're hoping some of these come to fruition. We're talking to Wegmans, Northeast Grocery, Target, Whole Foods, Costco, Weiss, Hannaford, and Stop & Shop, among others. So we're really excited that retailers are engaging and excited to see this campaign continue to grow. Because the reality is we want this to be a national campaign. So as we partner with retailers across the country and we're kind of building that quilt, that patchwork for the campaign, eventually we're going to have a full national campaign. And honestly, in June when we launch a campaign with Walmart, we'll have our first foray again into a national campaign. We want everyone in America, especially occasional seafood consumers, to eat more seafood, to eat twice a week. And when we launch a campaign, we really do customize it by retailer. We look at their shoppers, we look at their market, we understand which products we're promoting, and then we also understand their internal marketing team, partnering with them, what can they execute, and then what can we do above and beyond marketing within the retailer to drive this campaign home. And we want to reach the consumer throughout the day. We have to reach them where they are. So we want to make sure we move them down that path from awareness to consideration to trial to loyalty to advocacy. Ultimately, we want someone saying, I just had this delicious, delicious sea bass last night, you have to try it. And so we really tailor it for each campaign. Just a couple of quick numbers, and they're good ones. We ran a campaign during National Seafood Month with Publix, and we saw some great response. So from a results standpoint, we saw a 5.5% increase in dollar volume, and then a 5.7% increase in unit volume. And when we launch campaigns, we're targeting a $3 to $5 return on investment. So we want for every dollar we invest with our retailers and supplier partners that we're getting at least $3 back in incremental seafood sales. And we're thrilled to let you know that for Publix, for each dollar spent, we generated $4.85 in incremental seafood sales. And then we did a campaign in January with H-E-B. We're still cranking on the numbers, working with Jason and his team, but it was a chain-wide event. It's the second time that we've partnered with them. They had 11 suppliers, and the campaign delivered 17 million impressions. And Jason gave us a great quote, which I'll read part of it, that makes me smile. The January 25 initiative built off the success of the January 24 program and delivered sales growth that not only surpassed last year's performance, but also exceeded projections. So we're thrilled to see that not only did we launch a successful campaign in January 2024 with H-E-B, but again, as we do more campaigns, we're optimizing and increasing the performance of these campaigns. The campaign to date has been seen almost 100 million times. And again, here we're looking at an average ROI of $4.32. So our goal is to launch a campaign that gets people eating more seafood and delivers efficiently. And again, we're making money efficiently and we're getting more people to eat seafood. Oh, here it is again. And from an engagement standpoint, the campaign is really breaking through and engaging with consumers. So on average in the retail and grocery industry, the engagement rate for social media, so someone liking, sharing, commenting, clicking on social media posts, about 1.5% is the average engagement rate. And for the Fall in Love with Seafood campaign, that number is over double. We have a 3.5% engagement rate. So we know we're engaging consumers. And what we were really pleased to find out was that we were really engaging younger consumers as well. So a third of those engagements came from 18 to 34-year-olds. So again, as Andrew mentioned, we want to get younger people eating seafood. We know that they're not eating at the rate, aside from sushi, that we would like them to, and make them lifelong seafood consumers. We've gotten some nice recognition from the trade press, both the grocery trade press and the seafood trade press, which has been great. Oh, there's Linda and I. And we've also gotten recognition from some other really wonderful places. Chris Dubois from Circana, he sent an email to me after he had done a presentation, and this is a quote he said I could share. The S&P Fall in Love with Seafood campaign is really powerful and working to drive seafood sales. It looks like a great template for retailers to use and hope it catches on in the industry. Congratulations on a great program. So we were thrilled to hear those words, but knowing that they're coming from Circana, a company that is data-driven, performance-driven, it really meant a lot. And Chris actually included a slide. He was doing a presentation on the state of seafood and what is driving seafood sales, what are the opportunities to drive seafood sales, and he included this slide in his presentation. We had no idea. It came up and we were like, woo woo! So it's really great to get the recognition, especially from someone working at Circana. A couple of quick key learnings, and then I will get off and we'll start answering some questions. So, you know, it's an adage that may be overused, but it is true. A rising tide lifts all boats. So when we're launching these campaigns, if we can have seafood from across the store participate, the performance is that much better. It also demonstrates to consumers the breadth of offerings of seafood. So whether it's fresh fish, frozen fresh fish, shelf-stable, or ready meals, including sushi, we want to demonstrate all of the variety that we can offer that pork and chicken and beef simply can't. And so, again, we want that rising tide to lift all boats. We found out that when you add animation or video to social, it works much better. So the engagement rate increased by 40%. So here's just a couple of executions that we've been running. Yeah, so our goal is to stop the scroll. When people see these on social and digital, they go, wait a minute, what is that? That looks delicious. And then they engage. And hopefully then they click and they add to cart. Also partnering with people like Chef Andrew Zimmern, really trusted influencers that have a wonderful following, and we can tap into that following with partners who really are relied on and trusted. And so, you know, Andrew has 3 million followers. We get to have him, again, give the message of falling in love with seafood and eating more seafood. So again, we like to partner with regional and national influencers. It makes a big difference. And then also, for a few campaigns, we've tapped into the retail dietitian teams. And so at HB and Weiss and Hy-Vee, we tapped into this audience. And I'll tell you that the great thing about dietitians is that not only can they talk about seafood and they can talk about how nutritious it is, but they've really helped us demonstrating how easy it can be. They've had cooking classes, they've done cooking demos in store, and even a number of them have regular spots on their local TV stations. And so they did a Fall in Love with Seafood spot where they talked about seafood, and then they actually cooked on air with the morning host. And so we get lots of exposure, and again, the dietitians can talk about the nutrition and show people how easy it is to prepare seafood. For the campaign, we drive to a landing page, and that's been our most successful solution. So what happens is that all of the media, the digital, the social, everything that we're doing is driving to this one landing page. It showcases all the products that are participating, and then also we can truly figure out not only who's coming to the page, but who's adding to cart and who's actually purchasing the product. So it makes it much easier for us to gauge the success of the campaign, and then also present a wonderful page that talks about Fall in Love with Seafood, offers recipes, and showcases products participating. So, bottom line is, we'd love you to come aboard, unlock the power of consumer demand for seafood, increase sales across the store, leverage the power of collaborating across all species and all departments, get that $3 to $5 return on investment, learn from measurable insights and metrics, championing the nutritional benefits of seafood, and improving your customers' health and well-being. So that's a quick update on the campaign, and I think we're going to go to question and answer now, and I hope you also, at the end of our panel discussion, have lots of questions for us.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Let's give her a round of applause. So, you know, this campaign has been in the works for almost 4 years. The National Seafood Council Task Force, many members are here today, and our board of directors are here as well. We've been planning this for a long time and then started developing the campaign. Last year at CENA, we gave you an intro to this campaign. We had just kicked off with HEB 2024. Thank you, Jason, for being our first retailer to kick us off and send us off on a really successful journey. And so our goal here today with this panel discussion is to invite the seafood industry to join this campaign. Whether you're a retailer that hasn't had a chance to learn more, we're happy to give you this overview. And also suppliers, we need everyone to come on board. Our goal is to build a national seafood campaign where every consumer will begin to add more seafood to their meals. And so we're going to have a discussion, and so get your questions ready. We'll have some time for you at the end. I want to first ask Chef Andrew Zimmern. You are a marketing and communications expert. You speak with millions of consumers. Why do you think this campaign and the graphics and the assets you've seen engage consumers the way it has, that Sarah has shown?
Well, I think it taps into the needs that different groups have, right? I mean, you were talking before about young people getting engaged, right? So if the videos and the comm strategies match what is going on in the rest of the videos that they're liking, then you get to pique their interest. Getting them. We know that young people in their 20s are spending more money in restaurants, right? We know that they're seeking healthier foods, and we know that transparency is important to them. So that's a group that we know already from data across many different research modules is already primed to want to cook seafood. That what we need, or eat seafood, what we need to do with that group is teach them that cooking is fun too, right? So I think it's a little bit different for every group, but I think what it proves is something that is created patiently and not ready, fire, aim, which too many things in social media are. Wyatt Earp had a great quote that I think fits social media marketing really well, which is learn to shoot fast slowly. And he actually said that when someone asked him why he was such a good shot. And I think that really applies to social, because a lot of people think because it changes so quickly that they have to be very quick and into it, and that's not the case. It's kind of like getting on a wave on a surfboard. You got to start slowly and paddle into the wave, and then let the momentum sort of carry you. So I think the time spent over the last couple of years gearing up for this has probably been the reason that it has struck such a chord. I also think it's the right message at the right time. I mean, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, for all the reasons that you mentioned, health and wellness and transparency and all the rest of that, the one thing that I think we are struggling with is, well, several things, but the biggest one is price. And I think education comes in right below that. I stand at the seafood counter all the time, and it's like people are asking, well, what do I do with that, right? I like that. That's on sale, but I heard that wasn't good, or I heard that's fishy, which blows that word just boggles my mind all the time. But I think all chefs kind of feel that way. But it's fish, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
But I think people need to be educated about what to do with it, right? I think they don't want to feel gamed by someone who's trying to push something on them. I think they want somebody standing behind a counter talking to them. I think retailers sell more seafood when there's someone who can actually talk to a consumer and actually turn to them and say, what are you making tonight? What is this for? And maybe they can drive them to a different choice. But I think price is a really, really, really big determinant. And I saw some things on the floor today that have me feeling really optimistic about how that might be achieved.
That's exciting. That's exciting. Well, Ciera, as a brand, a well-known brand, Rich Products has CPAC and Maury's. What motivated you and your team to partner with Seafood Nutrition Partners on this campaign? And you were a partner on the Publix campaign.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, it was really a no-brainer for us. We are activating our own brand plans in a national space, right? We have a campaign that we just activated that we're super proud of, but when we see the opportunity to partner with an industry collective that is ultimately going to drive consumption for seafood for all of us, I think that was, just a partnership that we wanted to be involved in, because while single-handedly we can't, we can drive consumption for our own brands and our own products, but the opportunities there to like you said, a rising tide lifts all ships. Everybody in the room can attest to the past 3 years in this category and declining sales and soft demand, and it's been tough. For us too, as just being transparent, it's been a tough couple years, but we're starting to see things turn around. Having the industry support, partnering with our retailers, partnering with our competitors is really important, right? We have to use the assets that you're creating, share it on our social sites because your reach is not finite, but to grow it, right? Having you sharing, us sharing, the retailers sharing, it just broadens the reach of the whole message.
Now, Sarah, when you shared the campaign last year at CENA, you had some campaign creatives, and it was first tailored for HEB. How do you customize this for each retailer as we grow the campaign?
Well, there are a couple of ways. In terms of the creative, we can have the Fall in Love with Seafood creative opening up, and then we finish with an end tag that's customized to that retailer, and in many cases customized to a particular product or offer that's part of the campaign. So we make sure that the creative is catching the consumer's attention, and then it's driving to that participating retailer. Also, from a customization standpoint, we really do work hard with the marketing teams of our retail partners to understand what programs they have that we can leverage, and honestly, what programs they don't have where we can fill in the gaps and layer on other media and other partnerships. So we really want to understand their shoppers, their market, and their suppliers, and we do customize each campaign for each retailer. And in some cases, and I mentioned that we were doing things with the retail dietitian teams, we also have been doing cooking demos. At HEB, we did red snapper cooking demos in 300 stores, and they wore their Fall in Love with Seafood aprons, and it was a great way to get the product right in front of the consumer and expand the campaign. So really working with the retailer to understand what they have and then what we can bring to the party to make it even bigger.
So the campaign has a way to capture the consumer's attention. It stops the scroll. By the way, if it makes me really uncomfortable, it's a very successful campaign asset. So, so once we get their attention, then we have the ability to really share messages about how to cook, how to pick seafood. Andrew, once we get their attention, how do you help consumers understand how to pick responsible and sustainable seafood when they're at the grocery store or at a restaurant? Like, what are some things they should keep in mind?
Well, I really do think that, I don't think it was, a well-informed consumer is probably the most important asset to this campaign that we could hope for. To do that, we need to encourage people to ask questions. Restaurants and food retailers are in the hospitality space, right? They are trying to create an environment in which more positive things can happen for their business by servicing the consumer, right? So people should be encouraged to ask more questions, and they should be encouraged to say, hey, here's what I'm thinking of for dinner tonight. Why not have a conversation? For some reason, I think culturally over the last 25 years, we've become so siloed. I mean, we don't quite have our head in the sand on every issue, but we certainly have, horse blinders on. And I think that whether it's a restaurant or a supermarket or even our own homes, we need to be talking about food more. I think that's really, really important. I also think at the same time, as cheesy and as old school as it sounds, little 3x5 cards with recipes. I, for the life of me, can't understand why because it's so inexpensive, why every single supermarket in America, every brand, regardless of, let me restate that, 25 stores and over, because very small ones may not be able to do it, link to recipes. Show sexy food pictures, rip them off the internet, apologize later. I mean, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're going to cease and desist letter. But all kidding aside, if you show people what to do with food, seafood is so simple to cook. It truly is a less is more world. When I tell people to cook chicken breasts and to do less is more, they're like, yeah, I get flavor fatigue after 2 days. I mean, and I get that, right? I get that. There are so many things to do with fish, and the food can be on the dinner table, from refrigerator to dinner table, within a matter of minutes, along with healthy side dishes, vegetables and fruit, things we need to be eating more of, a great salad. And you could focus your time as a cook on something as simple as just whisking together some olive oil and lemon juice, or as complex as a more creative sort of sauce. And I think the key element there is to engage with other like-minded partners out there to create content. I mean, I'm a storyteller. Create content in the store. I mean, when you were talking about red snapper being cooked in all of those things, I would imagine there was a takeaway there, a little recipe, piece of paper, whatever. I think that's as important as actually being able to taste it. You can actually take this home and, by the way, marry that up with the snapper fillets are 10% off, right? And then you have a little mini ecosystem that is going to move product. That builds trust with the consumer, and the next time they come, maybe they're going to buy the monkfish. And then the next time they come, maybe they'll buy the sockeye that's frozen from last year's season. That's less expensive, right? And as long as you don't overcook it, is going to be a delicious addition to your dinner table. I think these things work in ecosystems, and I think that retailers need to be really mindful of that.
Yeah, you bring to a reminder for us to give people permission to ask questions,
100%.
to be open to it. Sometimes with the fresh seafood counter, there's that divider and the person behind the counter, and I think we need to make that extension of the conversation, being open to it.
I actually think signage and other things is taken, and I'm not talking commercial shelf talkers. I stand in line at my seafood shop or supermarket, and I see bewilderment on the face of whoever's doing the grocery shopping.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether it's pork chops or salmon. They've come with a recipe or an idea, and they're standing there and they're just overwhelmed because the cut or the thing that was in the picture online that they were like, oh, we should make that miso salmon that we saw on that TV show. And then they get there and there's like, okay, that fish doesn't look like this fish. And they have this bewildered look on their face. And I think we need to lead with kindness. I think we need to help consumers to ask questions. It's okay to say, I don't know how to cook that. We have a real problem in America culturally with saying, I don't know how to blank, can you help me? And I think when it comes to food, the more that we can encourage that, the better. But if people are having trouble opening their mouths, why put little put a little card by every single type of species of fish that's in there. Let them know that they can, hit one of those
QR
codes and go to the retailer's webpage where they're storing recipes, right, for people, or shopping ideas or tips. Engage with the people in the store. When people are looking for chicken broth and there's 12 brands, most people are just looking $1.99, $2.99, $3.99 because they feel that they're all the same, and nobody is talking about them being any different except for the $11.99 a jar, truth, for that one fire and smoke bone broth or whatever. It's very good. It's very expensive, right? But those retailers do marketing on their labels themselves. I think retailers need to do a better job marketing the overall experience within their store.
Yeah.
One thing to add to that is we had a meeting with a customer this week, and I think there's also a level of lack of confidence from the store associates, right? Turnover has increased, and so sometimes maybe the 18-year-old or 20-year-old person working behind the counter is not as confident in answering those questions. So this customer asked us, how might we help them with that education piece? And we do a seafood school for customers and associates alike. So I think that's a level too, where us as manufacturers and the sourcing arm for these, all the global supply that we have to come in and help with that education piece.
It's a brilliant point. And the fact of the matter is that retailers have been kneecapped as well. Hiring and maintaining employees is just as rough as it is in any other industry out there. And so with that turnover comes a lack of ability to create experts within the store.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's also where media can help them. That's where campaigns like this can help them. If we have QR, if you have the ability to hold your phone over something and get the answer to the question, then an employee in that store can say, open up your phone and put it right there and all the answers. They are helping them. They may not have the answer, but they're going to get the answer for you.
To be enablers.
And that's just as good, right? I mean, that is the magic.
Well, I want to know from Sarah, and then we'll ask for your questions. How did your products perform at Publix in this last October campaign? Do you mind sharing with us?
Of course, no, not at all. So we activate with Publix. We invest in our retailer partners from strategic promotional plans, and we were actually lapping a BOGO same time, and year over year, in just a week's time, and it may have been a couple days short of a week, we actually increased sales by 5,000 units. So if you can look at that from a long-term perspective, and BOGO volume obviously is a great lift, but having that incrementality above was really special for us. So we were happy to partner with it. We're looking forward to continuing to partner as well.
It's amazing. So we've got microphones in the middle here, so if you have a question, please feel free to come up, say your name and organization. If there are no questions, I have 20 more questions here. So, yes.
I didn't plan to sit beside the microphone, but it worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
I wanted to...
What was your name? And
Oh, sorry, I'm David Martinek. I'm from the Fisheries Council of Canada.
our friends, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely family. I wanted to tag on to something you were just talking about, the QR codes at the point of, in the retail environment. It just dawned on me, we have technology where we've got augmented reality. Imagine if you had a QR code that showed you what that fish looked like as a prepared meal that you could potentially be eating that night. I think that would be a visual stimulus for people to maybe encourage them to purchase it because it looks so delicious to eat.
Your iPhone will actually do that for free.
Yeah.
And so will your Samsung device. I mean, I'm not hawking Apple products here.
Right.
But the fact of the matter of it is that the tech is already there.
Right.
And so marketing groups that are external of retailers or retailers' own marketing and comms teams can create those almost instantaneously. My kids do it. And it's scary and it's new for those of us who are a little older. But I think the benefits of AI are staggering. The other thing that's possible, you talked about QR codes. A lot of fish, seafood of all types, is being moved around the world with chips, QR codes, and other pieces of tech inside boxes to show fluctuations in temperature, show how well or poorly a box has been handled. One of the things that I saw in Harrods a couple of years ago that was cutting edge at a very expensive London retailer, British retailer, was they had 20 different types of eggs in their poultry department, and there was an actual hen house on display over the pile of eggs from each farmer. And inside the hen house was a little video playing with a live stream on an iPad of what was going on. You could actually see the chickens, right? I think from a transparency standpoint, not only is it great to see what it looks like on the plate, but it's great to see that tilapia, those shrimp, that salmon, right, in its natural environment wherever it came from. You establish a relationship with the consumer that way, and the technology is there. It is not expensive. It is not expensive, and I think we're going to see more and more of it as smart people realize that's really easy to do.
So I think you might have binoculars, because that's kind of where I was going to head with my question,
Wow,
actually.
it's those glasses.
Yes, yes. Well done, well done. So one of the things we've been talking about is telling the human story of where the fish came from, and helping to build that trust by building connections between the person consuming it and the person that caught it. One of the discussions was, how can technology help with that? Well, doing live streaming from a boat as you're fishing and telling the story, showing the difficulty and the effort and the work, but also how it comes back to the community, and then the community processes it, and it eventually makes it into a retail environment where people purchase it. I feel like that story is missing in the spectrum of the story, or in the arc of the story. And I think could provide a lot of value in building the trust element that I think.
I'm going to have a friendly amendment with one thing that you said. It does exist out there. We're just not mass marketing it in store enough. Okay, we're not meeting the consumer where they're at with it. If you go online, you can see tons of those stories, from boat to seafood counter, and they're very, very, very compelling. Because when a fisher from South Carolina says, yeah, I shrimp in this season, and I redfish in this season, and I go clamming in this season, and all of my wholesale costs for those items have roughly stayed the same over the last 10 years, but my costs for gas for my boat and my kids' school books and the taxes on my house have gone up. We need to be eating more American seafood, right? And I understand you're from Canada. I'm just talking about our economy here, right? What I think is really, really important is that the consumer can then relate to that and say, oh my gosh, this is someone with a family too. There's so much mythology out there. I have friends who, serve clams at their house and make some joke like, oh, this was caught on a Chinese trawler. There's not a Chinese trawler off the coast of the United States digging up clams. I mean, it's a ludicrous sort of statement. We have so much mythology ginned up about seafood because people have a lack of awareness about it. So the more stories that we can tell about where our seafood is sourced from, the better off that we all are. And, there are no gates or chain link fences separating territorial waters of countries, last time I checked, right? So fish is freely swimming on both coasts between Canada and the United States. So we share the same waters. That should be something that our countries are working on together.
Well, I think we're going to have time for one more question. And as you're getting excited about this campaign, all of you can have access to these assets. They're at seafoodnutrition.org/love seafood. And so go on there and learn more about the campaign. There are videos, ready-made assets, and social media written already for you. So you can get started to contribute to the story. So is it Chuck?
Yes. Yeah, Chuck Anderson, CQ Foods. Just want to see if there's some creativity that you guys might have around getting the word farm to not be a four-letter word anymore with consumers. Because if you want to grow seafood, I think getting the people over the fact that farm-raised seafood is bad is going to help a lot, especially with the younger generation, because it's going to be better quality, it's going to be more consistent. How do you feel about putting extra effort into getting over the farm issue?
Throw that question to Sarah. As you're marketing seafood, how do you address the farmed and wild?
Sure. I mean, we have a diverse portfolio, right? We have both in our mix, as most of us do. And I think it is about the transparency, right? And being able to get that to the consumer. You go to any of our websites, anybody on the floor, any of our websites, you've got a dedicated sourcing and sustainability page, right? You talk about your certifications, talk about BAP, MSC, ASC, all the things, and it's confusing for consumers. So being able to extrapolate that down into a digestible format is really important. But I think, to your point, explaining what farmed is, and there's bad actors out there, but you talk about who you partner with and where they are and where your product is coming from. It's just a transparency conversation. the lack of ability to be in the store, to be able to talk to the consumers about it face to face is a challenge, right? Like our packaging is only so large, and that's our biggest communication opportunity with our consumers. That's what they see. You can't jumble it up with so much messaging because then it's just ugly at that point, right? Your packaging is ruined because you're messing it up with every sticker you want to put on it. That being said, I really think it just comes down to being more upfront on your social media strategies, making sure you're communicating it that way, whatever partnership you can find from a CSR perspective, right? How can you be very transparent in those conversations? And just talk about it, right? It's just a conversation with the people who love your food, and that's the important part.
I think there's a lot of partners out there who are trying to get that message out as well. My production company made a 3-part PBS series called Hope in the Water, and we explored a lot of aquaculture solutions, and we addressed a lot of the questions and mythologies around the idea that somehow aquaculture has a bad name attached to it. Aquaculture is thousands of years old. People have been doing it for a long, long time. There are, as you said, bad actors in the aquaculture space. There are also bad actors in the wild fisheries space. The idea is that we should be buying good, healthy seafood that is sustainably raised, regardless of whether it's wild or whether it is farm raised. When it comes to making product cheaper, I think aquaculture and frozen are the biggest ways that we can address that when it comes to types or pillars of seafood that we should be focusing on. And I think the more that we focus on aquaculture in America, both terrestrial and at sea, I think the better off we're going to be.
Thank you. I think we're out of time. Do I have time for one more? Okay, one more question. You're the last one.
Thank you. I'm Charlie Fritzner from Greenpeace, and I echo the importance of having fishers' voices represented. And also just harking back to you talking about the National Fisheries Campaign. And I want to understand how the international and national coverage of the repeated issues of like human rights abuses, of environmental destruction within the seafood supply chain. Most recently, the lawsuits from 4 Indonesian fishers against bone-meat tuna, but also against Carrefour by Bloom in France. How that's impacting your campaigns, and if you're actively engaging with these issues as well.
Yeah, thank you for your question. This is a consumer-facing campaign. 90% of Americans don't eat seafood, so they're not really looking at this category. And so for our approach, we want consumers to go into the category and learn about it. I think we can, through our experience, share the different ways to choose sustainable, responsible, but if they're not even in the seafood aisles, it's hard to educate them about the different issues. And so our first year and our goal has been to help consumers actually understand, oh, there's a seafood category and there is the departments to help answer our questions. And each retailer has a sustainable seafood policy in place. A lot of time it's on the website, and so they need to actually be able to actually have directions on how to find that information. And so it really is a first year to really build awareness about the fact that we do have a wonderful retail network in the country that has sustainable seafood as a priority. So
I would add to that I think retailers who ignore the importance of standing for human rights and ecological conservation are making a huge mistake, because every coming generation, sorry, it's too many planes and too many sleepless nights, with increasing percentages, every generation for the last 27, 28 years, the higher they have rated those types of values as being important for them, whether they're buying a purse, a car, a bicycle, a football, or food, right? They want to make sure that their dollar is something that they are able to almost vote with for what they believe in. So I think if there are retailers out there who are not addressing those issues by simply saying what they stand for, I think they're missing out on a large percentage of current customers and an even larger percentage of future ones.
thank you so much. That's all the time we have for this session. I appreciate your attention, and please visit our website. And I thank you so much for coming today.